Welcome to Ezra's Chronicles, a space where faith, poetry, and wisdom are embraced. Today is February the 1st, 2025. Our poet in review this week is widely known as a staple of American poetry and literature. So without further ado, I introduce to you Emily Dickinson. The Enigma of American Poetry, Emily Dickinson. A poet who rarely left her home, yet explored the vast landscapes of the human soul, a writer whose words defied time, yet remained largely unpublished in her lifetime. This is the story of Emily Dickinson, one of America's greatest literary voices. Born in Amherst, Massachusetts in 1830, Emily Dickinson led a life of quiet seclusion. She was known for her reclusive nature, often communicating through letters rather than face-to-face conversations. But beneath this solitude, a storm of poetry was brewing. She filled pages with her unconventional poetry, lines that broke grammatical rules, punctuation that danced to its own rhythm, and themes that explored death, nature, love, and eternity. She challenged the norms of 19th century poetry, often using dashes and unusual capitalization to create a unique, almost breathless style. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. One of her most famous poems, Because I Could Not Stop for Death, personifies death as a polite gentleman escorting the speaker on a carriage ride to eternity. This quiet yet profound meditation on morality exemplifies Dickinson's ability to transform ordinary moments into reflections of the infinite. Despite her prolific writing, nearly 1,800 poems, only a handful were published during her lifetime, often edited beyond recognition to fit conventional standards. It wasn't until after her death, in 1886, that her sister Lavinia discovered her vast collection and worked to bring her words to the world. Today, Emily Dickinson's poetry stands as a pillar of American literature. Her words, once confined within the walls of her home, now echo across generations. She reminds us that poetry is not about fame or recognition, but about the raw and fearless exploration of what it means to be human. Emily Dickinson, a poet of solitude, a voice of eternity. I've randomly selected 3 short poems by Dickinson. Let me know what you think about her style, what makes it stand out, what moves you, and how her poetry still embodies American English literature at its finest. The first poem is Because I Could Not Stop for Death. The second poem is After Great Pain, a Formal Feeling Comes. And the third, Banish Air from Air. Because I could not stop for death. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, he knew no haste, and I had put away my labor and my leisure too for his civility. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain, we passed the setting sun. Or rather, he passed us, the dews drew quivering and chill, for only gossamer my gown, my tippet only to lay. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Since then 'tis centuries, and yet feel shorter than the day I first surmised the horse's head were toward eternity. The next poem is After Great Pain, a Formal Feeling Comes. After great pain, a formal feeling comes. The nerves sit ceremonious like tombs. The stiff heart questions, was it he that bore? And, yesterday or centuries before, the feet mechanical go round a wooden way of ground, or air or out, regardless grown, a quartz contentment like a stone, This is the hour of lead, remembered if outlived, as freezing persons recollect the snow, first chill, then stupor, then the letting go. The last poem, Banish Air from Air. Banish air from air, divide light if you dare. They'll meet while cubes in a drop or pellets of shape fit. Films cannot annul, odors return whole. Force flame and with the blonde push over your impotence flits steam. So what are your thoughts about Emily Dickinson's poetry? Does her style still carry weight in today's landscape of slam and spoken word poetry? What things can you cleave from her style that lend themselves to our understanding of what poetry is and should be? Well, thanks again. This is Ezra Godson. Godspeed and farewell.